Azuba is the sea captain's wife, and her husband is Nathaniel. And their little girl is Carrie. And they're on the ship, which is a 200-foot, 3-masted ship. And they're going around, they're going to go around Cape Horn, which is the tip of South America, and it is the most dreaded spot for sailors and ships. And they were going through a place called the Drake Passage, which was a shortcut. And I'm going to read what happened at that time. Under the hills of Tierra del Fuego, the sea was blackened by a squall. It raced towards them, edged with a line of foam-whipped water. All hands on deck, let go the top-gallant halyard. Stand by your glue lines. Hold down your outer jib, let go the staysail halyard. Azuba kept her voice calm. Quickly, Carrie. Carrie's face was stricken. She looked towards her father. Quickly, quickly. They hurried below. Everything was just as they had left it. Scissors on the table, newly cut paper dolls, chalks in a wooden box. The squall hit. Azuba was thrown to the floor. She slid up against the wall. Carrie pressed beneath her. She heard dim, confused shouts, mixed with a seething roar as wind and water flattened the ship. The roar died away. Slowly, Traveler righted. Picking up your paper dolls, Azuba said. I'll go see what's happening. She made her way up the companionway, opened the door. Dark sky, black clouds, a silver light metallic on the wet deck, ropes thrumming in a cold wind. One of the topsails was blown to ribbons. Mr. Dennis passed the doorway where Azuba stood clutching her cape. His hat was gone, his hair blown into 2 horns. All's well, men, he shouted. We'll soon be on our way again. The ship lurched, making no headway, her sails in disarray. Mr. Dennis staggered, reached for a shroud. Men were swarming towards the shredded topsail, racing hand over fist up the swaying rope ladders. The measured calm, Nathaniel in his place on the quarterdeck, the watch about to change, had been thrown into chaos. The seas were building, ahead in the open water of the Drake Passage. Azuba could see white-capped waves beneath the lowering sky. Fear made the taste of blood in her mouth. Moments were discontinuous. One instant she was speaking to Mr. Dennis, and the next she was looking up, shocked by the ragged canvas strips like entrails against the clouds. She was steadied by the thought of her own task. Reassure Carrie. She went below, found Carrie on her hands and knees, busily picking up the mess in the tipping cabin. Good girl, Azuba said. The topsail is shredded, but the men are fixing it. She braced herself, hands on table. There was no way to know from which direction the next swell would come. Carrie was holding a paper doll's dress. She looked up at Azuba, questioning, trusting. Didn't I do a good job, Mama? I found every single job. The sailors bent on a new topsail. By late afternoon, Traveler's sails were again filled with wind, and she surged up and over the great swells of the Drake Passage. Mr. McPhail made a fire in the coal stove. At this latitude, the days were short, and already the saloon was dark, lit only by pools of light cast by the lamps in the stove's glow. Carrie bowed her head, and Azuba unpinned her bun. The child's black hair tumbled down. The silverback brush pawed, making a crackle of static. Azuba felt suddenly that the ship was fragile, a thing of tenuous parts. She pictured the shipyards, hulls like whale skeletons with steam-curved ribs, planks pegged with hemlock trunnels. The saloon door opened, and Nathaniel stepped in, bringing the smell of cold air. His eyes adjusted to the light, and Azuba saw in them a strange, sweet sorrow. For an instant he said nothing, silenced by the loveliness of Carrie, who was sleepy after the soothing brush. Azuba waited for his eyes to travel from Carrie to her. An instant of shared compassion would be equivalent to a long span of time in the heart's equation. But when he looked at her, his eyes had darkened, and once again he was in a hurry. "What?" she said. The moment fled. "What is it?" she demanded. She tossed down the hairbrush, her mouth set in a hard line. "Nothing to worry about," he grinned. "Bundle up, quick. There's a sight for you to see. We're about to pass the Horn, and if we have 36 more hours of this wind, we'll be safely around and bound for California." Azuba swept her cape and bonnet from a hook by the door, wrapped a blanket around Carrie, and followed Nathaniel on deck. The sun had set, although it was not yet pitch dark. The fire still burned in a ragged hem of cloud. Directly overhead, the sky was clear, star-pricked. Away to the north, the forbidding face of Cape Horn gleamed in the remnant of light, a black cliff sweeping straight up. Nathaniel pointed southward where the sky was dusty. "The Magellan Clouds, another galaxy that you can only see down here." Carrie settled on the skylight, as composed as if she were in her own bedroom. She held Jojo in her lap, busied herself making a hood around the doll's head with an end of the blanket. Azuba stood with one hand on a shroud. She wore a quilted black bonnet with satin laces. The dying light picked out red glints in her hair. "The tip of South America," Nathaniel said. His voice was sober. "Many lives have ended here." They stood side by side. Away on the foredeck, sailors had come up from the forecastle to see the wreck-haunted cape. Azuba remembered how Nathaniel had told her, back home in their parlor, that any person who had seen the Horn was forever marked. Surf broke at the feet of the cliff, shot hundreds of feet upward against the ice-streaked basalt. Gulls, wild ducks, and albatrosses flew low over the water like sparks in the sunset. Sun on the mountain peaks, a cold burning. "The light," Azuba said. "Oh, Nathaniel, the light. So savage, so beautiful." She lifted her collar and pulled it forward. A crushing silence here on the earth's wild margin. Essentials, rock, water, and light. "It seems that human beings were not meant to inhabit such a world," she said. Nathaniel glanced down at her. She had stepped closer, but did not touch him, since the mates were nearby and the sailors were on deck. "See, Azuba." His voice was spare, shed of human concerns. He put a hand on her shoulder, pointed. Heading westward were 3 other ships. Red and green running lights swayed from their bows. Their sails laddered up, tier after tier of canvas. They cracked across the cold sea, frail as spiders. Azuba felt a chill at the sight. So brave, so lonely. Every eye on Traveler went to them, and no one spoke, as if not wishing to acknowledge how they mirrored themselves.